some like team fundamentals for you guys. I'll just open a notes app. So let's start with map picks. So the map pool is IMEs, or I'll just do it in an order that makes more sense. Bat Lab, Night Market, or NM, Baron Test Chamber, Oni, Gates, Tycho, IMEs. So, or maybe it's easier to just call it app. So these are the 7 maps. And then I'm going to separate them a little bit into 3 categories. So there's the same maps. I don't know how else to call them. The standard maps, I guess. These are the standard maps. So like if you're into Smash, this is like your PS2. Everyone is comfortable on these, which means you're not going to get a significant advantage by playing them. But you're not going to be at a significant disadvantage by playing them either, unless you particularly dislike one of them. Then there's Oni and Gates, which are the kind of open maps where damage is a little less favored, other than like Gates in the corner. And ball movement's really important. And then the weird maps that are weird and weird. So those are your 3 types of map picks.
I love, for Ramen's sake, that you didn't make Gates a weird app or weird map.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's closer to Oni than it is to these 2. So
we should get good on it.
well, so what you should do is you should really know what map you want to ban, because you can always choose to not play on a specific map.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys already have an idea of what that is?
So our ban strategy for the last Launchpad was basically get rid of the top 3 maps, because those are the ones that everyone leaves up, and we, especially where we're at right now, we're one of the lower ranked teams in there, so just based on skill gap, we lose on those maps pretty much every time. And also just from a lot of trial and error in just throughout the past few OSAS seasons, we've kind of discovered we don't really perform well on AtLab and Night Market. And so we've been a lot of times going for the more open. Oni is usually our go-to map, is what we want to play. And then
Okay.
I hate Gates. I'm so bad at Gates. So
I love Gates.
yeah, the other 2 like it. I cannot play that map. I need like single coaching on that map specifically at some
To
point.
represent Moon here, I think
But
he's more indifferent to it.
yeah.
I absolutely adore it. But
Tycho we all love. That's
yeah,
probably
we're
our second
pretty
choice
pumped on
map.
Tycho.
And then App I think we all like pretty well as well. And then CTC we've never really played much of. So
Yeah, we're like weirdly uncomfy on CTC. Like
I don't think
I feel like
okay,
it just
so
hasn't
I
been
think
his rotation as much. Or
I
like
think with
OSAS.
CTC we all just kind of think the other people hate it more than they actually do.
Yeah.
And then but none of us actually really hate it.
I just don't like the bounce house. I'm bad at the
See, that's my favorite one. I
Yeah,
love the bounce
same.
house.
I also hate the bounce house.
It's just
Because
hard.
I've never once went into the bounce house confident that I will win or lose the point.
Right.
I just have no idea what's going to happen. It's just basically going to be wait till somebody gets an unlucky bounce and then it's over. Anyways, I really appreciate your guys' draft strategy. I think if I were in your position, I'd do something similar. Oni has weirdly become an uncomfortable map for a lot of people, because these 3 maps have just been getting spammed for a long time. Especially if you're playing teams that are like scrimming and active and trying to play against like nasty NASA or NASL teams. If you run into any of those teams that are getting that practice,
Yeah.
you're going to notice that these are really preferred because they're
Yeah, I
also
was gonna say,
similar.
I think Ball and Ballers specifically said like we just don't want to play Oni. Like we're not gonna do scrims on Oni. Which was
Yeah.
funny
Yeah, with
because
them
it's
we
like, you
played
guys would diff us
AtLab,
anyway.
Night Market, CTC, and Tycho were the only maps they would
Yep.
scrim us on.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me. I think those 4 are people's preferred maps. I don't really know. It's because Tycho is pretty similar to these three,
Yeah.
other than the fact that it's weird and messed up and it sucks.
Not,
But yeah, these three maps are incredibly similar. There's like pretty minor differences between them, but the way that you play as a team on all three is similar. Um, and so that's why people like them, because they're very consistent. Like if you go from a night market game to a Clarion game, you're kind of just drafting the same way and playing the same way. But if you go from a night market game to an Oni game, it's very different.
Mhm.
So I like your strategy of trying to eliminate these maps. Um, based on the fact that you like Oni, you could ban night market first. Um, I also think AtLab has more variance than Night Market. Like Night Market is by far the most consistent map.
Yeah.
yeah, I
It's
think our fear
extremely straightforward.
with
So
AtLab is like we basically like our Era X comp on AtLab does okay, but for the most part, like we struggle dealing consistent damage as a team, and because I play very hold it down goalies, and Ramen is not very kill brained. So like when we play Era X, it puts a lot of pressure on Moon to kill, but he's like consistent with it. Whereas I think a lot of the like AtLab in general, if we don't get that comp, like I think we kind of just get KO comped in return pretty frequently.
I see. So in my opinion, in Launchpad and at whatever level you guys think you're at, like if you think you're at an OSAS level or
Yeah,
if you
we're
think it's compete in
OSS.
Launchpad, I think damage is really inconsistent strategy and focusing on it is not going to get you a lot of success. Um, you might be more liable to die if someone else plays a damage comp, but um, you should really focus on your fundamentals. And I think damage is like a, I don't know, an advanced play style that relies on you being able to play all the other play styles first, because it really is the most fundamentally difficult. And you guys would be able to win whatever you're trying to play in without having to pilot any damage at all and just playing like a core control style. It's also really strong right now, the core control style. Um, so it kind of depends on where you want to go from there, but you can only ban one. Um, since you play Era X, that makes Night Market better. That's a really nice fundamental comp to have on that map. Um, but that's kind of up to how you guys feel, and you guys can have a little discussion about that. But I do like your strategy of playing Oni. It removes damage pressure for you guys, and it focuses on the core control win condition that I think you guys should probably play for. And then which of these two that you ban is up to you. CTC, it sounds like you guys are making peace with a little bit. And then you guys don't like gates. Oh wait, it's BO1,
Well,
right?
It is BO1, yeah.
Oh,
if
okay.
you
Well,
want if you want to convince Ramen that we should play Gates, though, you could do that.
I am the only one who
yeah.
hates gates, but I am not comfortable to play that until I have coaching specifically on gates and then practice with that coaching.
I think
So,
there's not enough time.
yeah,
We are on a
exactly.
time lane.
No, not
Exactly.
not for
Yeah.
this. It's just like you
Just
could
for the
throw the
future.
idea out there that maybe we could.
Well, you guys should realistically be able to narrow it down to these two, unless they both get
Yeah.
banned.
Yeah.
Um,
That doesn't
and
happen
then,
very commonly.
yeah, especially Tycho, I think is not going to get banned all that often. Otherwise, you could try App, but that's actually a very damage-oriented map, pretty scary. Gates
It's
would
weird
be a
that just
nice
because
other option, but
the nice thing with app is like I said, it's mostly our forward that is quite damage brained, and like he plays a pretty great Rasmus and like a decent Juliet that he's been working on. So like we kind of trust him on app. The issue is just like not getting diffed.
Yeah, we did in our first game of Launchpad 1 was on app and they gave us Rasmus Julie
But then like
and then we
it's a
got
weird
3-0'd
comp
on it.
because Ramen doesn't normally play Rasmus, so
I mean,
I think
I had I had the most kills in that game, I think, on the Rasmus.
Yeah.
But
We did okay. It's just like there was a level, I think maybe more for me than for you, where it was like it just felt a little different because I think our positioning was kind of weird.
So yeah, I do like your strategy map wise. And then what are your character pools like?
I
So
play all. I play
midfield,
Kai and Now are my top two, and then
awesome.
I have Era and Juno are probably my next best two.
And then Rune and Aimee are like the next.
Yeah, yeah.
And what about goalie? What does our character pool look like for goalie?
Um, I would say I've been very much like I was a Dubu one trick for a really long time, and then I started picking up Atlas, and I mean the core stats would have you believe that I'm a hard Atlas one trick at this point. I think I can kind of comfortably play either.
All right, that's fine.
Um,
Atlas is very good right now.
yeah,
Um, so
I have like a 70 something% win rate in comp.
and then what is our brawler pool?
He plays X,
Kazan
Asher,
X
Kazan,
Asher.
Rasmus. He
Yeah,
plays some
that makes
Rasmus
sense.
too. Yeah.
What do you think are his top two?
His top two,
Probably the X and
the Rasmus.
yeah,
I think he's been
those are
playing
what we
Rasmus
go
more
for the
lately.
most when depending on what map. So like if we're on a night market, he'll play X. If we're on like Oni, he'll play Rasmus. Is what we'll
Yeah.
go
Okay.
for.
Okay. So I think it's a good idea. The big problem with Launchpad is it's best of one, and
I think that's in our
it's
favor, actually.
yeah, it's best of one, and it's quite a few games. And there's not enough room for error, so consistency is really important. So I think it's generally just a much better idea to try and just play your most comfortable picks than it is to play what you think is the best pick in that situation.
Okay.
Um,
Mm.
that if you're playing what you're most comfortable on, like if Cold Ramen is just playing Kai every game, he's probably going to be able to navigate the game state better than if he's playing something that's got a stronger start in Awakening, but he's just less experienced on and less comfortable on.
Sure.
Does that
I will say,
also?
Same.
I to push back on that a little, I trust Ramen on like any of his like top five picks, like implicitly. He just plays everything pretty consistently, like because. But I think for myself and Moon, that might be good advice.
Yeah, I was gonna
Are
ask.
we saying,
Does
Mr.
that
Lemon?
count? Like, would you even go so far as to say if it's a hot shot start, I should not play Juno on it, just to play the
No,
Kai? Okay.
no, you could just play Juno.
I was gonna say, dude, your Juno's great. Like this
Yeah,
is.
I think the at least my top four. I think I'm comfortable playing any of those four. At
Yeah, like I guess what I would say is if you're a little lost on what to pick,
then
um,
go for Kai.
or or it's like a something look good, but one of your like top two or top three looks also perfectly fine, and it's just like you would just get like a slight edge by playing like your fifth or fourth best character,
Mhm.
then it's probably better to just go for comfort. But if it's like super best, it's like an overwhelmingly good pick. Like for example, if you had someone who dabbles in Luna goalie but doesn't spam it, like they're not one of those one tricks, but they
Yeah.
definitely have experience on it and it's a Deadeye start, then maybe that's something that you would consider picking. But in general, you want to just pick consistent, um, just consistent picks and characters that you know you have a lot of experience on, so that when you run into new situations that these stronger players are forcing you into, you're able to better understand how to apply the tools that you're using to navigate them. Did you guys hear that? No, I
Hmm?
don't think you heard that.
No,
It was
I
just
didn't.
No.
this loud noise.
No.
Um, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's a hard rule, like limit yourself to two. Hotshot Juno's good. 1-2 punch Juno's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but it's definitely important to play the things that you're most familiar with. And
Okay.
because when you're in Launchpad games, there's a lot of things going on. Like there might be some nerves, there might be unusual character picks by your opponent, and especially so, there might be a level of play that's higher than you're used to or than you've ever like been put in before. And when you're in those situations, just the more comfortable you are with what you're playing, the more of like your brain RAM you can dedicate towards figuring out how to overcome like these new challenges in front of you. So that's a big deal. I had another thing that I was going to mention that I've forgotten. Oh, the other thing is that if you are playing your comfort picks and your opponents have instead gambled on, I'm going to play what looks good here, but isn't necessarily my strongest, most comfortable pick, you might be able to leverage the fact that they're slightly uncomfortable with your comfort and be able to beat them in situations that they might be able to beat you if they were more experienced on the pick, but because they're not, they aren't able to. So that's another like advantage to doing that. Let's talk about your map picks. So we want to go to Oni and Tycho. Since I have the goalie and the midfielder here, I'm down to talk a little bit about defense and how you guys want to navigate playing defense. And then I could leave some notes for how you guys play offense as well on this map and what you can do about it. But the main things I advise, I mean, I guess we'll look here. And it's good that you're doing this, is I just like to have goalie in one speed lane, midfielder in the other speed lane, and brawler in the middle. And you guys are obviously doing the same thing here. It looks like your opponents are not. But this, I think, is the most consistent setup at denying pressure from the enemies and also making sure you don't make defensive mistakes by like rotating incorrectly. So what I mean by that is on Oni Village, in the early parts of the round, you're gonna do one of two things. So let's give your enemies their dues and Juno. You're gonna do one of two things. It's gonna sound silly, but the two things you're gonna do is you're gonna either win kickoff or lose kickoff. So that's obviously pretty straightforward, but you obviously play drastically different when you either win or lose. When you win, I think on Oni Village especially, you want to be really aggressive with your passing plays and with your ball movement to maintain core control because it's such an open map, it's really easy to lose it. And then when you lose kickoff, you want to enter like this formation. So let's say Kazan and Kai walk the ball. Kazan, like, they get sort of like this kind of play set up. Kazan walks up before Kai gets there and he like hooks the ball. So now Kazan has the ball. But I can try using this tool. So Kazan hooks the ball. And then he passes here to Asher, who's walked up. And then Rasmus has walked in to try and collapse here, but the ball's already at Asher. And then Asher could probably make a play out to Juno, assuming Juno has walked up properly. So something like this could happen. Okay, so let's say you've lost kickoff. And then now Kazan hopefully has slick kicks. So he's able to run through. And then Asher's probably rotating down here. So I'll do a little bit more. Now the ball's here. So now you guys are obviously rotating back. Rasmus is probably going here. And then Juno's probably attacking like on the bottom here. But the point is, this is all kind of a hypothetical situation. But the end result is, as long as you haven't lost your barrier on kickoff, which in this like Kai Kazan kickoff matchup shouldn't really happen, it's much more realistic that Kazan will lose his. You could end up in this kind of situation where Juno and Kazan are kind of collapsing. And your best play, usually on Oni Village, is to find a way for the ball to get to Kai and have the enemies overcommit to one side. And then have Kai pass out of the pressure into the open space. And that's like the most fundamental way to play defense in Oni Village. And so if you watch any like NASL games, or even like NASA games, you'll see this setup a lot where the goalie and the midfield will just pass between each other until one of them has an opening, and then they'll clear it out. Or through the middle if Juno like goes too far down or something. And then the brawler usually is there to receive the pass and get the play going. If not, though, they can come play disruption by like cutting the pass or like hit stunning someone. Especially on Oni Village, you really want to get the brawler involved on defense. But yeah, this is the most fundamental tenet of defense at Oni Village is you play each to one barrier. And since I'm not sure if you guys worry about your positioning on kickoff beyond just putting the goalie in the nearest speed gate and the midfielder in the other speed gate. But I've noticed that people tend to have favorites on Oni. Like goalies tend to prefer either the bottom or the top barrier to defend. And so what favorite? Do you have a favorite, Mew?
I'm definitely a bottom barrier favorite. I've been trying to force myself to rotate to top barrier if we get their bottom early though, so that I can like send it right back at their barrier when we're in that situation.
Yeah, that's great. That's actually really awesome that you are aware of that. But I would recommend on kickoff you start on the bottom because that's just
Yep.
more comfort for you. And then if you do take this barrier, um, what you do typically want to do, it depends on your matchup. But you play Dubo and Atlas, so both of these characters it applies for. You want to basically lose your bottom barrier and force this like same side matchup
Yeah.
so that if offense ever starts in this speed lane, you can drop your wall and make things really difficult for them. Or you like your log, or just you can assist on offense. Like melee goalies can assist on offense more efficiently in the same side barrier situation because what you could end up with really commonly is something kind of like this, where you have like Kazan here, Kai here, Juno here, Rasmus here, and Dubu just kind of chilling.
Hmm.
And if, say, you get some sort of creative ball movement going like this, Dubu can move up and be the third man on offense. So I'm glad that you have that foresight. That's a really big deal on this map, and most people don't really know about it. So that's one way to convert like mid-game defense. But in the early parts of the round, I want you guys to just do this every time. I think that's a really good idea for you. Don't really care how your opponents match up unless you're getting like really cooked in a specific
Hmm.
matchup. So what I mean by that is if they're playing like Kai and you're playing Juno, and on every kickoff the Kai is just able to get to the ball first and then hit it to the wall and then barrage and take the barrier, and Juno doesn't really have any options against it. If that's happening like 10 times in a row, then you might want to switch off kickoff, well, maybe less than 10. But if that's happening a lot and it feels really difficult to deal with, then you could switch it up. But I think what's more important generally is just the consistency of this exact setup of Mr. Ramen up here, Mr. Mew down here, and the Brawler in the middle. So let's talk about what happens if you win kickoff. So let's say Kai gets here. Rasmus is going to walk up like this, and then Dubu might kind of walk up like this. Kazan's here, Asher might be here, and Juno's kind of walking in. In this situation, it kind of depends on how your opponents, like their defensive formation. But on kickoff, on Oni Village, unless I'm really confident in my 1v1, which in this case I would be, I think it's a really good idea to just pass to the nearest guy. So let's say it spawned in the middle. This is something that I love seeing out of brawlers, is if it spawns in the middle, Rasmus walks up, Dubu walks up, Juno walks up, everyone kind of walks in, and this action happens, and it's very, very good. It kind of punishes the Juno for overextending and leaving the barrier behind. But the immediate pass on kickoff on Oni Village is really strong. And since you guys want to play this map, I highly recommend it from pretty much any of the players. So if it spawns in the middle, or sorry, it spawns in the bottom, Dubu doesn't even really need to contest. He could just wait for Juno to hit the ball.
Mhm.
And if Juno hits the ball at you, you can pass to Rasmus. And then Rasmus, is hopefully kind of moving towards the ball. You can pass to
Mhm.
wherever Rasmus is going or where he ends up. And then if Kai is moving down, then you could do something like Kai passes here. Sorry, Rasmus passes here, so the ball is in Kai's hands. Rasmus moves in. Kai passes back to Rasmus. And then depending on how they rotate. So for example, when Rasmus passes to Kai, Asher might move up. Especially if Kazan's like here. She doesn't want to give away this barrier for free. But if she does that, then Kai can go down. If Juno's moved here, then you can move back to the Rasmus, who's hopefully moving forward. And then Rasmus has a clearer angle on down here if he needs to. And then Kai's moving in, and like this is what I meant earlier when I said you're very aggressive with your passing early. A bunch of these like short passes between each other generates really like effective offense, and what it does is it forces the enemies to consistently react to what you're doing. And so when you pass like this, you could force Asher to move up. And then when she moves up, then the bottom barrier is weaker. And then you can go for the bottom barrier. And then if she starts like overcommitting down and you end up like here with the ball, and she's moving down, then you've got something like this sharper angle here to take the barrier. And you could really just force people out of position, especially on a map like this where there's so much space that it's impossible for the enemies to cover all of it. But those are the two main ways you want to play offense and defense. You want to play offense, or you want to play defense like this, where these two pass until they get a clear out. And then you want to play offense either through passing between the midfielder and the brawler, or some sort of pass play to the goalie from the brawler. Or the other option, like I was kind of saying earlier, is if you're really confident in your kickoff matchup, as Kai, you could secondary and run up, and then like strike barrage the ball into the wall, and then you're going to get it through Kazan pretty much for free. So yeah, that's kind of how you play this map. And then let's see where you guys are at with regards to all that. And we can kind of look at how you guys could make some changes to orient yourself. So for me here, I'm going to pause in the first second of the game. What do you guys think the right strike is here?
Pass it back to Moon.
Yeah, I think the pass to Moon looks really good, especially because the Asher is committed so high up into the speed gate. So you're not going to really win the 1v1 here. And also, if you pass it back to Moon there, the other big advantage is that the Kazan won't even be able to strike the ball. Like right here, if you strike it down towards Rasmus, the Kazan can't actually impact it.
Yeah.
Instead, you just take this beast mode strike war. It works out quite nicely. And then now we're getting into like this corner offense. And what I really want from you here on offense is to just be more aggressive.
Okay.
So this barrier's down, right? Let's just try and draw this position. We've got Kazan here, which is good. That's what I call no man's land. And Dubu's kind of supporting the Rasmus. So for you, when you're positioning like this, the difficulty is that you're positioned pretty well for defense. Like if he's trying to get towards the barrier and he hits it to Juno, Juno goes to Kazan, Kazan's not going to get anything for free. Or if he gets it through Juno and goes to Asher, and Asher goes here or to Kazan, still you have really good options to rotate, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to generate efficient offense, it's going to be really difficult for Rasmus to get through on his own. And what I would have liked to have seen is you move in front of Kazan. Because now there is no pass to Kazan, right? The Juno can't do that anymore. So So you've cut that option away from them. And then Kazan's only other option would be to get in front of you somehow. And he's just not gonna. Then you're actually in the same thing. Like he can't go through you to get the barrier. And so you're still in a good position where you're not giving up that space. But instead, you're kind of waiting around the midfield, and then they just kind of the play slowly dies out. So, like I said, you're in a great position defensively. Like I'm not surprised that you were able to defend the barrier well there. Um, but you were never going to make any progress offensively.
Yeah.
And so this is a position I really like on Oni Village, is this specific one. If you're playing like same barrier and Dubu's kind of up here, you can do that, but it's a lot scarier. But in this situation with both barriers up, I really like this position because if you're able to get in front of Kazan, like if you had uh, like here just ran right instead of left.
Yeah. Then there's a free pass to me, and I can just take it fully topside.
Yeah, then that passing lane opens. But I really like this position because it's so limiting for their options. So if Juno gets it through Rasmus, there's a Dubu. So the ball's not going to go back to your half. And Mew's like ready for that. You know, Mew's walking up.
A little bit. Maybe not as much as I should be.
Yeah, you definitely can be a little bit comfortable walking all the way up, especially with the speed gate. Because on Oni, or on every map, it doesn't matter really that much if you lose a barrier. The only thing losing a barrier lets your opponents do is start playing this corner offense. And that's it. That's the only thing it lets them do, really. So losing a barrier is really not that bad. And so if you're positioning kind of back here, what that kind of tells me is you want to be in a position where if the ball's somehow rotated like this, by the time the ball is like here roughly, you would have an expectation that it's going to clear out and you would start walking top and you would save the top barrier. But that's actually not a super meaningful thing to do compared to taking this risk down here and positioning here. And if the ball gets through somehow up here, you still have time to rotate here because you only need to save one.
Right. Yeah, and if Ramen's in that spot, then the Kazan doesn't really have the option to take bottom as easily.
Yeah, yeah, and so if the Kai is in this spot, I really like this spot, because it really limits Juno's options. So if Rasmus is confident he can get through Juno, he can go at Juno, and then Juno can't go to Kai, and can't go to Rasmus, and so technically Juno's only option. I mean, assuming that the Rasmus is correct. If the Rasmus is incorrect, then Juno's going to go back to Rasmus and get it through Rasmus. But even if Juno does that, there's a Dubu there. So really a lot of things are covered. Juno's only realistic answer is to go back to Asher. And I have a few comments about that. One, I don't anticipate many Launchpad teams are going to be playing. Their midfielders are going to be able to recognize that and make that intelligent play. I now hope that you are able to do so, though, because I do think it's the best way. It's the best way to get out of this situation. But that being said, it's still risky because Kai has his abilities up, and will hopefully has at least Barrage or Giga up. And also, if this happens, so let's say this pass happens, Kai can start moving this way if he anticipates the cross clear, and Rasmus can start moving this way, and then if they go back to Juno and go down like this, then there's a Dubu to catch it. And so you still have that way of limiting their options, but regardless, you have all of Kai's abilities to make a play. And that's a lot better than what the Rasmus was forced to go through without the extra offensive pressure from Kai.
So, just in general, is there a preference on which one of me and Rasmus are in the middle and which is in the corner? Or is it just whoever's closer does that job?
So I'm of the opinion that the ranged character is better here.
Okay.
Than the melee character. And the reason for that is because the ranged character has a more unpredictable offense. So let's say Rasmus is here with the ball. He has a couple really powerful plays he can make, but the best sequence is Rasmus goes to Kai, and then he uses his slick kick speed to run past the Juno and end up in front of her. And now all of a sudden you're in a 2v1. And Kai has the ball right here. And when Rasmus positions here, Asher can react to that and go to cover the Rasmus. And then Kai can go straight up like this and take the barrier. Or what happens more frequently, in my opinion, is you end up in this spot where the Rasmus is like right here by the time the Kai has the ball. And the Asher might have been here because she was preparing for corner offense, right? So she's kind of on this side of the barrier. She will recognize the fact that Kai has a shot up here and start moving over to that side. By the time Rasmus has come in, and then Kai can hit the ball here, and Rasmus can primary the ball, or Kai can strike it directly at Rasmus, and Rasmus can strike the ball and take this really vulnerable corner of the barrier down here. And so that's why I really like the brawler being in the corner here. You hit it to the midfielder, and then the midfielder can either hit it here or here. And if they hit it up here, they're more likely to have the right abilities to get the barrier. So like if you struck it there and barraged, like slightly left of the ball, let me move. If you struck it up there and then barraged like this, then if Asher tries to strike the ball through, your barrage is going to catch it and it's going to grab the barrier. Whereas something like a Juliet or a Zentaro or a Kazan, and even Rasmus a little bit, although his primary can do this job, I think it's less reliable, but it can. It makes the midfielder the more like the preferable person to have in this position, just because their ranged abilities are usually better.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of the times we were doing it such that I would rotate down to that corner and push from where Rasmus is. Like for a lot of the cases throughout this game, I would end up being the one in that bottom corner, and Moon would be the one kind of more in the middle. And then, but I think that would actually make it a lot easier for me to even rotate back and cover the our corner defense.
Yeah, it helps you defensively as well. And then for Moon, I think what I'd like to see more from them on Oni Village, just based on what I'm already seeing, is just like here, this would have been an awesome strike to set up the corner offense. And then you could have rotated here, and then you guys would just put this Asher in a really difficult situation. But striking up here is closer to the Asher. She's able to interact with the ball sooner. And basically, if you hit it to the corner, especially with how overextended these guys are, Asher's not going to be able to hit the ball, and these guys aren't going to hit the ball. But if you hit it up, Asher can hit the ball. And one of the most important ways to play a core control style is to absolutely minimize the amount that your opponents can interact with the ball. So going back to this situation, when Rasmus passes here and then Kai passes to the incoming Rasmus here, you'll notice that Juno just doesn't get to play because she's never in range to actually strike the ball. And Rasmus should be able to get through the Juno because he has more speed than her, because he has slick kicks, because he was able to hit the ball and Juno wasn't. So playing like that, like this triangle setup, where you go around people through passing, is just very strong. Because you always get to control where the ball goes, and your opponents never get the opportunity. So there's basically never any risk. So if we drew a similar situation like over here with Kazan, you could try and deal with the incoming Kazan and take a strike war, right?
Yeah.
Or you could just go here and then run through him, and then that just like Rasmus has the option to go here while you come in with like Barrage or Giga, or just the raw speed. Rasmus can go wherever he wants, but this guy doesn't get to interact with the ball at all, and that's one, that's really frustrating for him because he wants to interact with the ball. But two, it minimizes the risk that you're taking. So, yeah, that's why I really like this setup, because it emphasizes completely removing this player from the defense and forcing the goalie in a 1v2.
Yeah.
Which, of course, there's like no better spot for your team to be in other than the goalie's like dead. Okay, so you finally end up in the corner. And then you were playing pretty far back again here because you wanted to cover this cross clear. So like the idea is that if Asher decides to go down here, Rasmus can hopefully run back and catch it. And so her other option is to go like here, or even here, and then you can kind of go to either of those.
Yeah.
But what would have been better is for Rasmus to play this a lot slower and like hit it here, and then you come in, and then Asher can do two things. She can either cross clear, which you have Giga to punish,
Yep.
or much more realistic, she'll see you here and she'll go back down, and that's fine, because what that results in is eventually Rasmus being here and Kai being here. And then the only defensive formation they can realistically take to deal with that is to have Kazan come here. And then if Kazan is there, are any of you colorblind?
No.
Okay, so you could
Good point.
differentiate
Yeah.
the colors. If Kazan is there and Juno is here, and then Asher is here, well, then you actually can play through your Dubu, who can go to your Kai, and then your Kai can like rotate. That is the number one way you'll see this shut down, though, is if the brawler gets involved and cuts this pass here between the midfielder and the brawler. When that happens, you can also just choose to play through the corner with Dubu and Rasmus. Kai can like cheat in a little bit past the Kazan so that you could still take the pass. But I'm going to be honest, you're not going to see the enemies take that defensive position too much. But I definitely would have liked to see more patience in the corner. Because realistically, if you're hitting it at the Asher, she's just going to hit it away. And you're never going to make any progress. It's pretty much almost always better to just not hit it at the enemy goalie until you're absolutely confident that you have like a checkmate than it is to take the risk of hitting it at her and then losing your offense. So here we hit at Asher and we've lost our offense. And then now we're on defense because we hit it at Asher. And instead, if this strike had been like down or here, that would have bought time for these guys to come in, and you guys would be able to keep the ball up better. So yeah, definitely exercise more patience if you can. What's up, Gorf? Gorfin time.
Yo, what up?
So I'll see if I notice anything particularly interesting. Oh my god, that's unlucky.
I was gonna say don't look too close here because it's
That's actually
embarrassing.
so unlucky. I thought that was gonna catch it.
Well, that's what I thought when I did it.
I suppose that is what you thought when you did it.
Then I looked back on it and I was like, no, I just burned my ability on a very safe interaction where I could have just waited.
Yeah, that's very true. The other thing that I want to talk about that you guys can try and implement if you can keep in mind is one of the hardest parts about playing offense is playing offense in unequal numbers or even equal numbers. So what I mean by that is if we've got this offense going, and let's say Kazan's like chewing crayons over here, this situation is still pretty difficult because you're playing 2-on-2. And you have less space to work with than they do. Because all they need to do is hit it into open space, right? But you need to hit it, to score, you need to hit it into increasingly tightening space that they can cover. So the best way to generate an efficient offense is to eliminate that numbers advantage. And there's two ways to do that. One, obviously, is just like killing someone, and then you have a numbers advantage, usually. But that does usually rely also on your third player getting involved. So that's one way. But the other way that I noticed here, and part of the reason you lost your barrier, is the other way to generate really efficient offense is to play an aggressive defense that looks to rotate the ball really quickly to catch the opponents out of position. So in this instance, we've got Asher, we've got Juno, we've got Kazan. We've got Rasmus here, we've got Kai here. And they get the ball out. Give it a second. Yeah, right there. I mean, I guess technically Moon drops the ball, but the idea is that Kazan is here and the ball has gotten through the Rasmus, and now we're stuck in a 1v1 here. And so obviously there's a defensive mistake, and he shouldn't have gotten the barrier so easily. But these types of mistakes, like the one you made, are much more likely to happen in these 1v1s or in 2v1s if Juno got involved somehow, than they are to happen in these like really slow, grindy corner offenses. So you guys have been playing the slower, grindier corner offense through the Rasmus, where the Rasmus is getting the ball into this area and then trying to attack the barrier from this side. This type of offensive situation, or I guess defensive situation for the Asher, is very familiar, and she's going to have a ton of experience playing this. And she's going to know exactly what every strike looks like from the opponents and how to defend against them. And a big part of that is because the Juno is slowing down the offense when this happens. But if you're able to make a quick rotation, so things like team player are really good for this. Things like core flip are really good for this. And also just in general, looking for open space between two people. So let's say Juno's here, Kai's here, and Rasmus tries to get it through Juno, and Juno just goes through the middle. Through these two people, you guys are stuck here, and Dubu's alone. And now Dubu, he's only in a 1v1, which is ideally favored for him, and he probably shouldn't lose. But the Kazan has so much space to work with because these two teammates aren't back that he can get really creative, especially against like your stronger Launchpad opponents. They can get really creative and find ways to get through the defense because the numbers advantage was generated by this Juno strike. Like this Juno strike through the middle is similar to just killing Kai and Rasmus at the same time. But instead of a 13-second death timer, it's like a 4-second death timer. So that's something worth considering. And you can use that to your advantage, obviously. So like a situation I love finding myself in is having like Raz or Kazan here, Juno here, and they try and play through the corner. And they try and go through here because they have the numbers advantage and they can overwhelm me. I just hit it away. And then when that happens, Rasmus can take the ball here or here, whichever he thinks is better. Or if I hit it to Dubu, Dubu's usually going to hit it here. Or he can hit it to Rasmus, wherever Rasmus is. And these guys are stuck up here, and they're going to take a long time to rotate back. And so by striking like this, they're dead. They're dead for 4 seconds. And then they respawn, not on the respawn point, but somewhere over here. And on Oni Village, this is a really big deal too, because the speed lanes speed up the core. So these rotations are even faster than on other maps. So that's a big part of why this ended up happening, was because like, yes, Dubu made a mistake, but Dubu was kind of baited into making a mistake because Kazan was in a 1v1 with so much space to work with. Like if Kai was like right here or something, and Dubu's down here, Dubu's no longer going to worry about this because Kai can come in and catch it. But because Kai's not there, Dubu has to worry about that. And then you got faked out. And so it looks silly. And obviously you could have waited and played it better. But those types of mistakes you're going to make, and those types of mistakes your opponents are going to make based on the unfavorable positions you're putting them in. Oh, let me drop a subscribe really quick. The unfavorable positions you're putting them in. So yeah, I like this. I like the way that this was played. Just patient on kickoff and then trying to rotate the ball. I guess the only reason it kind of doesn't work out is because the Asher's like there and ready to influence the ball once the ball's gotten past the Kazan. And so it gets around. Doo-boo. Yo, these strike shots are kind of messing you up.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're in the corner and you're there. And yeah, so if you weren't staggered and Kazan hadn't hit you, and you were able to stay there, and if you had stayed to the right instead of walking back left, like right here, if you kind of kept moving right
Yeah.
and moved right like a couple inches and then stood still, you could have been in position to flip this ball. Probably burn one or both of their flips,
Yeah.
and then try again later. And so you're gonna go grab the orb.
And it is a speed orb start, by the way, so
Oh my.
everyone but me and the Juno has speed orbs. I don't know why the Juno took timeless.
Yeah, it's a
Siege
little
Machine.
interesting. So now you're in the corner, but the issue is that if you pass Erasmus, he can't really mix up the Asher too well. But if it's the opposite, it's so much better. And also, um, since you have flip, let's talk about some good flip practices. When you want to flip, pretty much always the best place to flip is just right here.
Yeah.
On pretty much every map, in pretty much every situation, this is usually the best place to flip. Because it gives you the option to go here, it gives you the option to go there. When it's an open net and Asher's here, if you're flipping here, she has to, the maximum distance that an Asher has to cover is half the goal because she could stand in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So you could force her to cover this maximum distance and take this like 50-50. If there's like someone like here and then like the enemy Juno here, you might be able to find a cheeky opening down the middle with your core speed. So what I'm trying to say is getting into this position when you have core flip is really good. And if you can rely on your other teammates to get you the ball when you're in this spot, that will be really good for you guys. And the other thing I want to see you guys try not to do that you'll probably end up doing a lot because literally everyone on Earth does this is try not to flip in the corner.
Yeah, I know I do
Um,
that once this game at least, but
yeah,
it results in a goal, so.
yeah.
Somehow.
It's yeah. When it scores, it feels really good, and it feels like
Yeah.
the only reason you scored was because you flipped. But it's so inefficient, and you
Yeah,
get blocked so many more times than you ever score that it's good practice to just kind of never do it. There are like edge cases where it was a smart decision to do it, but those are really hard to identify and not something you need to worry about for Launchpad, I don't think. Nice W from Moondrops there. And we got their flip, which is good. Holy
Another
moly.
crazy roll for no reason.
Steppy roll. I would have done the same, Giga. Nice. So I think you guys did pretty well here. That you really want to be cognizant of is when you're in an open net situation like this, you kind of want to play sides. So like Rasmus played top, Kai played bottom, and then the only like really significant mistake I saw you guys make in this was this like barrage here, where it does cut the pass to the Kazan, which is a good thing. But barrage is definitely your best scoring tool. And so when you're in the open net like this, you usually have to kind of greed these resources and trust that either somehow Rasmus is going to get the ball back after it's been passed to Kazan, or that this pass is not going to result in an efficient offense for the opponents, and that you'll get the ball back.
Is it even my best scoring tool against an Asher, where she can just primary and then stop it entirely? Like, I feel like Gigas are worth more against an Asher than Barrage is.
Well, it helps you cover the cross clear, which is nice. She's definitely good at dealing with it in the corner if you end up in that kind of spot. But
Yeah, I think
if she
I
doesn't have
rewatched.
primary, it's your best way to get it through her.
Yeah, in that case, yeah.
Zach said the exact same thing. I don't know if you remember because the coaching session was a while ago for you. But he called out that primary as like.
Yeah, no, I think that was
looks
actually
good
a
on
different
paper.
one where it was where
No,
it
it was
was a
this play
flip. Oh,
too.
was it? I remember it being like the similar situation, but with a flip, like where they flipped and went to play it through, and I primaried it.
Maybe it was that too, but I know he brought that one up actually. And it was specifically because they weren't in a position to be able to generate real good offense there anyway.
Yeah, let's keep looking around. This guy really hates going down.
I think we even called that out to him.
Yeah, this guy hates it.
Moon?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
right
Yeah,
for
here.
we I think if you turn on the audio here, we're like, go down.
Yeah, going down looks great here. Just hit it into the space. And that's something that's happened a couple times, so definitely want to be wary of that. The Asher is not down there, so. And so now, now we have gotten into the corner. And the issue with Erasmus is he's just never going to break through an Asher playing like this. And that's really difficult. Look at that little crackhead strike war win. Good job. See, like, yeah, Rasmus is up there, but Asher just completely stonewalls him.
Oh
Holy
my
shit,
god,
these two
it's
rolls.
3 missed rolls. Yeah,
They're going a little crazy this game, I'm not gonna lie.
I get slightly better about them, but the game does end with me missing a roll.
Really? That's funny.
Yeah.
My hold it down, gentlemen.
There we go. 1 for 4.
Oh, that guy lost his mind. Okay, we've got 2 flips. I believe in us.
And then I lose that one.
No.
1 flip. I believe in us. What
Dude,
did
you
you
guys
think
are
about
stalling for
Ramen's
time.
flip direction there? Because in the moment, I know he was probably just making a split-second decision. I think he could have tried to play it to some kind of space, maybe.
I mean, so I think you could argue that something like this is best, but only because Rasmus is dead.
Right. That's what I meant. It's because Rasmus is dead.
I
He's
think what
just kind of
Zach
strikes
had
me.
said was to go like almost straight down so that it goes back and down so that it would then bounce up to the top left corner and then go straight up from that direction for a similar time wasting means.
I think Zach was
Yeah.
implying you should
But
try to hit it to me more.
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like to me, is if you're hitting it backwards like this, it's gonna go
yeah.
to Dubu. I like mine more because mine keeps it on their
Yeah.
half.
Well, it makes the forwards retreat.
Yeah, and it does that.
Gary Walls.
Holy moly.
No.
Kazan cheated, bro. All good. Kazan just cheated. Okay, we've lost 3 kickoffs to Kazan, so I'm gonna just give some wisdom. On kickoff, if you can get to the ball first and you're confident, you can try and play through them. Which I've noticed there's been a couple times you have gotten to the ball first, but you haven't played with confidence. Your other option is just let him hit the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he hits the ball, what is he gonna do? The only way he can get it through you is if you use your strike.
Yeah.
So as long as you never do that, he can never take this for free. And if he hits the ball at you, which a lot of people in Launchpad are gonna just walk up and hit the ball at you. When that happens, then you get to decide where the ball goes after that. He's basically passing straight to you when he does this.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of used his little bag of tricks to win these kickoffs against you. Like there was a primary when you were sure that you would hit the ball first. But there's no harm in being more patient on kickoff and opting into playing defense initially. Because when you play defense off of kickoff, you can usually find a good defense to offense rotation and generate good offense off of that. Unless your opponents have like a particular set of resources that can checkmate you on both barriers. Usually it's just okay to say like, I'm gonna let Kazan hit the ball first, because if Kazan hits the ball first, that doesn't necessarily mean he's won kickoff.
Yeah.
He needs to actually achieve something. That looks so weird. Am I crazy for that?
Yeah, no, it didn't look like it hit.
He looked like he struck it and then it took the barrier, but
I
Yeah,
think it maybe did. It looks like he. Oh,
oh,
it hit
did
and then
he?
he struck.
yeah, they just happen on like the same frame, basically. Kazan looks annoying.
Yeah, he's kind of carrying the whole team.
Yeah, he looks really annoying.
The Juno, honestly, like wasn't that involved in a lot of plays where she ought to have been. But you know, they still got me. It's not the angle, and now I get
Holy
stuck
moly.
because of my insane wall instead of striking.
You cheated again, bro.
Yeah, I
But
was like
yeah,
trying to be patient and hold the roll for once, and I think in that one situation I should have just rolled right on him right away.
yeah, the main thing I'm noticing is that like you guys, it just feels like you're never in control, even in times like this one in a second here. Yeah, like this one. Um, where you just struck the ball so you're faster and Moondrop's ahead of Kazan by a step, and like you guys can kind of cover the space to like choke out the Asher a bit. The issue is that you guys are never really in a position to kind of have 2 people on your team hit the ball consecutively. So like here, we've won this interaction, but Asher's going to hit the ball next. So she's actually the one that's in control of the situation. And so that's what she does. She kind of walks up. She passes to Juno, and now Juno's the one in control of the situation. Um, and they eventually find a way through. So like here, you get that strike there, which is really good. Um, but Juno's able to win that strike war, and then it kind of all falls apart. What you could have done here to buy yourself some more time is, so I understand why you struck up. You struck up because you understand that you need to strike first here, right?
Yeah.
Um, you don't have time to wait out the Juno strike.
Oh,
But
Moon's
because
here.
you're going up, it's the same idea where Asher's up here. So this ball, you want to strike it, you could strike down here.
Yeah.
And that keeps it away from Asher, and it gives Moondrops time to get in position to go here, or ideally to follow you into the corner, and then you rotate out.
Hmm.
Um, oh, hello, Cricket. Um, and I guess the big thing that I'm noticing a lot this game is the way you guys are hitting the ball is allowing the opponents to dictate the pace of the game and allowing them to dictate where the ball's going, like what areas you're playing in. And you guys really want to play in this area. This is how you're going to find wins. Um, and by going up here, you're playing in an area that Asher controls and that Kazan is in, and that Juno is arguably in, or at the very least can enter, which she does. And so when you rewatch this, like, you think, oh, the mechanical mistake here of Juno won the strike war, and then Kazan was 1v1 against a melee goalie in the open net. So that's just like a really difficult situation to be in. So we need to win this strike war. And that's true. They could have patched up the initial mistake, but the larger mistake is the ball was hit into an area that the opponents can control, as opposed to like straight down. Keeps it away from Kazan, keeps it away from Asher, and is a place that you guys control. The main risk of hitting it straight down there is if you hit it straight down, if Juno hadn't struck, she could like jump and strike the ball.
Yeah.
And then you end up in this really ugly situation where Duba wants to come get the ball, but Kazan can just come hook it and take a free shot. But in that case, you're not playing into this Asher. Whereas when you went the other way, the same thing ended up happening. Juno jumps, strikes, Kazan takes the 1v1.
Yeah.
But that ended up happening because the Asher was involved. And so every situation there's a million considerations to make, but a general good rules to follow are minimize the ways that the enemies can impact the core. You know, like back to this idea earlier of you know, why ever hit it at Kazan here when
Yeah.
you could just do this and he never touches the ball. Same idea. You guys just want to minimize as much as possible how much the opponents can interact with the ball. And the more you can do that, the more you guys get to play quote unquote like your game, and you guys get to control where the ball goes, what kind of situations the game ends up in. And whenever you're doing things that you are in control of and that you want to be doing, you know them better than your opponent knows them, and you're going to be winning. So, fight or flight. Please fight or flight. Come on. Damn it. All right, what are we taking? Perfect form or rapid fire? Oh yeah, this is an annoying draft. It is for Rasmus too. But like with the Asher, you kind of have to take the rapid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about. The only thing that we were looking at, like I kind of thought about it after the draft. I'm curious to pick your brain on it. Is that uh, the Asher was taking too long to select, and I actually could have taken Might instead of Siege here to force her to pick between Mon Siege and Deadeye. Not that I like love Might or anything, but just because I that would be like a kind of counterplay. I just was curious if you thought just stick to Siege, or if I should take Might.
I think this is better than if you had taken mine.
Okay.
Um,
And she has
just
strike
because,
shot, so
yeah, the main thing is that Might's not even really great on Asher goalie. It's nice to have a little bit of extra size. Um, but size in
supposed to get
general on
better.
goalies isn't amazing. It's pretty good on Oni where the barrier is small, but size on forwards is just so much better.
Mhm.
And so, um,
Yeah, I mostly pick up size to deny, so
yeah, if you're
that's
picking up size, I think it's more important to deny a forward size than it is to
yeah.
deny
Should Rasmus have
in
taken
goalie.
Might, or is perfect form just
I would have actually liked if Kai took perfect form and Rasmus took rapid. I think maybe would have been better.
okay?
Just because Kai, like Rasmus is hook and his primary and his secondary aren't the world's most spammable abilities, unless you're like really just trying to like kill people and drop a bunch of damage. But on Rasmus, if you're using primary like off cooldown or secondary off cooldown, you're probably not using them as well as you could. Whereas on Kai, if you're using Barrage off cooldown or like secondary off cooldown, you're probably getting a good amount of value out of them compared to what Rasmus is getting. And so he values the more consistent, and also Kai's probably hitting the ball more than Rasmus, so he would get more perfect form procs because every time you strike the ball, you get perfect form.
Okay.
So, and then Rasmus likes rapid fire because his most spammable ability is his primary. Like you could just use that for damage, or to steal the ball, or just for whatever, and that's usually fine. But like Kai definitely appreciates perfect form a little more than Rasmus does. But regardless, I think this draft is like fine. You're not like losing the game or anything off of it. Dang, I feel like something went wrong here. That's kind of tough. I do like the Giga. I think the main thing is Rasmus to like come here and be ready to primary the pass, I think was the problem. Because instead you just take a strike war and that's sort of a 50-50 a little bit. Holy moly. The Juno got you guys mixed up.
Yeah, timeless. I wasn't thinking about it there. It's like it'll go away by the time it. Nope, it didn't.
Yeah, it seems like one of your strengths as a player is you understand how to leverage your speed, which is good. I saw you using it to kind of beat up on the Juno.
Yeah, haste players are probably my best characters right now.
Yeah, speed merchant. That's me. I'm a speed merchant.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just doing so much passing around that it's really hard for you guys to actually get anything done. Wow.
I got the flip off the orb. I could have saved it, but I didn't realize it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought your strike would hit that, so. That's good. You got the flip. I like the barrage to keep control.
Do I just flip for
But
double barrier attempts right there, or like strike and then flip
um,
or something?
I don't think so. I think the most important thing here is like you want to go up like this because if she goes down like that, you can walk back to catch that. But if she passes, you can't.
Okay.
And even Dubu can come in. But if she gets the pass clear to Kazan here, you're like the offense is dead. Also, if you were playing Atlas, would you be momentum boots or would you be strike shot?
Strike shot.
Strike shot's broken. Good job.
I like strike shot on Dubu with specific awakening starts too. But I'll normally just do mob boots Dubu and strike shot Atlas.
Yeah, so here for the barrage, this is something I need to get better at too, is you had to barrage on this side of the ball
Okay.
because she can hit it out of your, if she tries to hit it, the only way, she can't go anywhere but out like this, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so if you barrage to the left of to the left side of the ball, if she strikes it, there's a much better chance your barrage catches it. But on the right side of the ball, as soon as she struck it, it's no longer in the barrage.
Yeah.
And so she's able to just strike it out of the barrage. But I only point that out because that's something that I mess up, so I'm trying to learn it as well. Nice. Glad you punished that because she's been just passing to this Juno nonstop. And yeah, I like the way you played that. That's kind of what I was saying. Just walk up, pass on kickoff. You knew you'd get there before Kazan. Um, the Juno ends up winning the interaction, but it's fine because it's Juno. And then you go for the pass again. And Juno's options are really limited, and you guys get the barrier off of it. So that was a good, efficient way to play immediately off kickoff. Like a kickoff win, I guess. And then, yeah, Rasmus is never making any progress there. And then if I'm the Rasmus, I'm saying, where's my midfielder? This guy's not even a midfielder. This guy's a backfielder. He's way over there. It's going to be really difficult to make progress, especially against an Asher. If he's playing against like an Imi or whatever, then it makes a little bit more sense to position more defensively and to rely on him to get through on his own. But against the Asher, he's just never going to break through on his own, and he really needs your help.
Okay.
And you are probably going to be playing against quite a few defensive-oriented melee goalies, is my guess. In Launchpad, in part because they're strong right now, and also because they're what most goalies are comfortable with, and they're pretty low execution. Like, it's hard to mess up on them. So, yeah. See, like here, because you're more involved,
Yeah.
they just make this mistake. Obviously, Wedo doesn't play it perfectly, but that's every single situation, basically. The opponents are not going to play it, and you're not going to play it perfectly either. But just imagine if you were here. Like, nothing would be happening.
Yeah, I keep noticing I only ever really push up when I'm going for that, well, when I'm the one in the bottom corner trying to do the corner offense. Whereas
Yeah.
I need to start pushing up more when I'm not in the one in that position.
Yeah, it kind of seems like, especially, like this is especially something that might happen if you play like Era X or something, where that comp really relies on Era to push the ball up, and then to get it to X, and then to enhance the X to use his
Yeah.
pressure to go X mode and everything. But this is you are playing the team version of this game, not the solo queue version. And the ball moving up is a team-wide responsibility. And you have to be able to trust Moondrops to bring it up on his own or on their own. And you be able to play off of that. Because the reason you only really want to push it up yourself is because that's just like the only way you've ever known how to play. Because you can't trust in solo queue for that. But you got to be able to trust and expect people to play in a certain way when you're in a team like this. I love that strike from Moondrops. Because now you guys are in charge, and you're a step ahead of these two. So more strikes like that. That was really awesome. See, like, look at that. You guys are... Moondrops from set 1 would have struck straight up here. That shit would have sucked. But we go down, and then now we burn the flip, which is really nice. And then it goes back to Dubu, which is fine. And we're in the exact same spot, except flip is down. And then here, like, this looks like what I was talking about earlier. But the issue is that the Rasmus is a little too close to the Asher. Because the Rasmus moves with the ball, and that gives Asher enough time to walk up primary. And so Rasmus ends up in this position, which is much easier to defend than this position. Or more realistically, this position. Oh, look at this speed character. Oh, running around. Unfortunately, everyone's kind of in a weird spot right here.
I think what Zach had said to do is play it off of their like the far right wall and then bounce it up to Moon.
Yeah, this is a great strike here. Something like this. Hit it like that. That would have been a great strike. Direct to Moon could have been fine. Because you can run up, and then Moon can go up, can go there, can go to you, and you can go there or there.
Yeah.
Basically, the best advice I can give you guys to try and build the habit of click on your allies and click in places where your opponents can't hit the ball. And that'll take you very far. But
Play
here,
forward like goalie.
yeah, play forward like Oli. Oh, and you guys are fucking killing this guy. Yeah, it seems like you really understand how to play a lot of these micro interactions, which is good because those are harder to teach. Um, and how to leverage your speed, particularly to beat up on this Juno. Like here, you ran up using speed to surprise her because she thought you wouldn't be able to get there in time. Um, and I kind of already knew that about you from watching you play as a little crouton.
Same thing with speed orbs. He gets every time we're like, oh, we're gonna get him this time. He just picks up a speed orb and runs the fuck away. Kill.
Oh,
Aw.
Kazan.
That was yeah, that one I don't think I recovered after that one.
You look like you recovered just fine. The barrier's still up.
I think I'm still just throwing out abilities though. Alright.
It is getting kind of funny how many of them have gone wrong.
How many rolls? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Like it's a every time it happens they're like, oh it's not a steppy roll in here, it's a Mew roll.
Yeah. Pretty
There's
funny.
also Mew
Oh
strike shots and
yeah. Mew flips apparently.
Crazy Giga. But yeah, the issue is
here's my
so.
corner flip there. Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Let's see. Was it actually dumb? I don't know. He doesn't even strike at all. I don't know if his strike is
Yeah.
up or not. If his strike isn't up, it's obviously fine. You could just go right through him. It's also not as deep in the corner as I would hate. Like if you were like here, I would hate it.
Yeah.
But here gives you the option at least to go up there kind of realistically, to pass here, to go down here as like a mix up. But yeah, this is like pretty chill.
No, that strike was definitely up by that point.
Yeah, I think so too. So that is kind of a mistake. But hey, sometimes you just gotta H check someone. Sometimes they're old.
Flambo's in college though. He's a CCL player. He's younger than me.
He is. I play him tomorrow or on Saturday rather.
Oh, wait, on Saturday. Is he not playing
Yeah.
in Launchpad?
No, we play after Launchpad.
Oh, okay.
I'm only egoist. My hot take is I think Catalyst is better.
Then Egoist.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
It's the first I've heard that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's the goalie next pick. So
Well,
there's
no,
an argument to be
just in
made.
general, I think Cal's better. Um,
Right.
I think you get a higher volume of flips with Catalyst, and flip is such a ridiculously powerful tool that having more flips is better than just gaining a bunch of random speed. Because you guys are getting, as long as no one dies, you guys are getting ego speed off of every orb, and it doesn't feel that game breaking. And that's like every 10 seconds, every 15 seconds. Wow, that Juno recovered from that pretty well. So yeah, think about how manageable the speed orbs feel and apply that to Egoist. But instead of it being every orb, it's once every blue moon. And it like doesn't feel that bad. So like Kazan got speed here. That would have essentially been his Egoist speed. And he didn't
Right.
do anything with it. Whereas if you get an extra flip or two, like there's a lot of arguments that Catalyst could give you some fraction of a flip more than Egoist gives you within a single point. That fraction of a flip results in getting flip. Let's say it gives you 25% more flips than Egoist. Then you're going to get a fifth flip for every 4 flips that Egoist does. And 5 flips is a lot more than 4 flips, I'll be honest. Also here, something to be aware of that's a little bit higher level is, so Moondrop's here, when waiting this out, you can go straight through the Asher now because she struck. And then obviously she dashes or whatever. And if you had gone back up, that would have gone in. But when someone strikes like that, their resources become very limited. And that's not like you're dumb for not doing that. That's just something that's difficult to be aware of. But you have to be ready to react to it. Especially in Launchpad, because goalies in Launchpad are going to get freaked out and do that. Look at you guys holding it down. Oh, big Dubu roll.
Nope.
Surprised you didn't catch that. Oh, another one. But I think he had already struck.
Mhm.
Yeah, he had
Yeah.
already struck. With the Egoist, don't be too afraid to kind of, or just like an Energy Awakening, don't be too afraid to just let a flip rip.
Yeah, I think that's part of why I did it there, but also because I went for a Strike War first before I did it, so I knew he would have just struck.
Yeah. Like here, you can flip here, and then
Just shoot bot.
just insta
Yeah.
shoot there, and then you might get Asher's flip, but that's fine because she doesn't have Egoist,
Yeah.
and you do. Although, did she pick up Catalyst?
No.
Rather,
No.
she
Juno
Nobody
has it.
picked up Catalyst until Juno, which was kind of crazy to me. Because like
that's
Kazan
crazy to
at
me too.
minimum should have picked
And
it,
Asher
and
also didn't take prime time. Or a
yeah,
size
Asher takes
awakening.
extra spec like later. So the Asher, I feel like drafts were like pretty abysmal this whole time, and very randomly late.
I actually think into Asher, Catalyst would have been better than size for the
Yeah,
Rasmus.
but it also denies what Kazan should have taken, which is Catalyst.
Yeah, just extra flips into melee goalies are borderline necessary to be able to break through them. And both of you guys getting Energy Awakening would have enabled you to have more flips to break through the Asher.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, don't be afraid to let it rip when you got that Energy Awakening. But like, let's see. Okay, so let's see how you use your Egoist speed. And what it results in. So you already have the Orb speed. Now you have the Egoist speed. And it helps you run up to cut that pass, but you're unable to get there in time. And then it helps you strike that ball there. And that's it. That's your Egoist speed. And then now at this point, Egoist is almost just strictly worse than Catalyst. So you need to make a lot of use out of that speed. And I think it's difficult to do
I mean, it
compared
does
to how
bring me back
consistent
to
Catalyst is.
half an energy bar after the
It does.
flip.
You are at a third of an energy bar now, which feels really good. But you would probably be at half with Catalyst right now because of how much you just got hit.
Made a fun little kill box for myself.
Then
Oh, I
I
gotta be killed
killed
that guy.
him.
Oh, Moondrops does not trust you.
There it is.
What do you mean I don't trust him? I passed back to him.
Now you hooked your own pass, bro. Look at that.
Yeah, no, I did do that. I was worried about that Juno slime snatching it.
That
There
means
was
you
a
don't trust
reaction
him.
to that.
That's all I'm hearing.
That's true.
You were not worried about a Juno Slime snatching it. You were worried about him losing to AI.
I can't beat the allegations.
Yo, AI is turning a lot of jobs.
Oh, nice. That was a beautiful strike.
We got Flip on Moon.
I mean, Cold Goat 14 is having a nice game
Yeah,
here.
part of why we like this map is because it lets Ramen carry us.
My Cold
Yes.
Goat.
It's probably one of my most comfy maps,
Yeah, because you get to play speed characters and fly.
and I don't die.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Anyways, I'm gonna head out soon, but I would
Okay.
like to summarize everything we've talked about so far. Um, now that the brawler's here, same. I guess the others were positioned. What would you say your top two brawler characters are? Your most comfortable picks?
Hmm.
They gave you
Kazan,
X and
Rasmus.
Rasmus.
I would say Kazan, Rasmus, Julie.
Interesting. So they don't think your X
You're gonna
is
say that the Julie has replaced your X?
In terms of comfort for me, yes.
Interesting. Okay.
okay. I mean, Kazan Rasmus is fine. Um, that lets you play.
Kazan always gets banned against us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Which
Okay,
kind of
that's
sucks,
chill.
but also just enables like other characters, which is
Yeah.
fine because
Well,
Yeah.
our sub too, he's a flex player, but he's like a Kazan goalie. And so when it's him and Moon and like it always is a Kazan ban. Like it's never not a Kazan ban.
Well, that's great.
I was like, I
Having
think
some.
that it's a good thing. 'Cause it means we get whatever else we want.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I still like the map ideas you have of trying to go to Oni or Tycho. I can briefly talk about Tycho as well. On Tycho, this rotating thing I was talking about is even more important. You pretty much always, on Tycho, want to do this. Or go in reverse. It's like the only option you have. And the other thing about Tycho is, especially if playing against like a melee goalie, it's pretty difficult to punish that. And usually what happens is the enemies are going to play on the same side because this map encourages corner offense so aggressively that you'll usually get something that looks like this if they're playing a good offense. And so here your clear options are like to this guy, obviously. But doing this is going to shut down so many teams. So that's kind of on Mr. Ramen here to be able to position pretty far back when the ball's on your half and enable this clear to happen.
Okay.
Okay, so you're
And
saying
then
I should be assisting in uh Dubu clearing out the corner
yeah, I
if it
mean if
gets
Duba's able
like
to
buried back there.
win, yeah, if Duba's able to lose, if not able to win in the corner, then Kai can kind of come down.
Oh,
Because
okay.
if something like that's happening, and there's no shame in playing defense as a brawler, so you can do that.
I
You could
believe
also
you
like,
me, I have no issue coming back to do that. I have the opposite issue is stopping me from doing that.
yeah. But just like this clear out of the corner is almost always just the best way to play because everyone wants to get it in this spot. This spot is so juicy, it's so dreamy. Um,
I mean, as a
that
brawler, I can very much say yes, I am thrilled to get the core there. It's where I'm trying to get the core against them.
yeah, it feels great. Um, but not always like it. As a result, the best way to deal with that is just hit it away because you know that they're going to be trying to go deep along the wall here to get there. So
Mhm.
hitting it away is pretty likely to be out of the sphere of influence. And just like this map is so weird and so difficult to defend on as an individual, that these rotations are just so important. These are the absolute backbone of playing defense on this map is go here, go out somehow, maybe go back down to Rasmus here. Um, and then if you're playing in the midfield and you're, say, like slowly losing in the midfield, then you can let the ball go through you, like rotate here, let this cross clear happen. Basically, if you've ever cross cleared on Taiko Temple on a defensive possession, you have pretty much guaranteed yourself an offensive possession,
Hmm.
which is really nice.
So also just
Yeah.
quick while we're on Tycho, this tends to be a map where we run the Era X a lot. But since Moon is saying that X is not one of his top 2 or 3 comfortability wise, should we
Well, if
avoid
you've played
doing
it a
that
lot,
or?
if you've played it a
It's
lot on
like
this
I
map, it's
wouldn't
fine.
put X like far behind the other 3. I'm just,
Yeah.
if you're asking me what I'm like, these are the ones where I feel like if I need to have an all-star game, I can make it happen most consistently. It's those 3.
Yeah, and if
X, I
you've
very
played it
feel
a
like
lot,
can be like I can be dominant with him, but I can also have games where I feel like a wet noodle.
Yeah.
yeah, and X is definitely like that. But yeah, if you've played a lot of the Era X on this map, or like for example, if you're on Night Market, there's no harm in playing Era X, even if it's not on your list. Although I would recommend Now X instead.
Yeah.
Um,
I
that's
also
something you could do.
prefer playing the now, so.
I personally don't actually think Era X is that strong in this map, but given your midfield pool, I think it's fine.
I think I would typically prefer to play the now on this map,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
regardless
think
and
if
the
we
that's
have the
me
reason
X or
too.
not.
often we've had a crazy amount of what's the one Might of the Colossus starts on Tycho,
Oh yeah.
which has made Era a lot more valuable just by
Yeah.
default.
Yeah, for you guys on Tycho, I would recommend something like if you guys got Now, Atlas, and then Rasmus or Kazan, I think it's great. You guys
Okay.
are in a really awesome spot. Um, just because on this map, you need a way. Okay, it's a little complicated, but the way this map works is because the drums accelerate the core, it's really easy to rotate the ball to the other side quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that means is it's really efficient on defense to put 2 people in the net when the net is open. And so what you need to succeed on this map is either really consistent ways to get the ball into the corner and go through the one person with X, or you need some sort of scoring pressure at range from your midfield or from your brawler to give you extra help on the open net. Because like X, for example, sucks on the open net. He's really not great at scoring in the open net. And on this map in particular, Juno can just sit here in the net as long as she needs to because she doesn't really need to win midfield interactions to get it to the other side. She just needs to get the right bounce off of a drum to hit it really hard. And so she can sit in the net forever, and then when it finally bounces off the drum, she can move up. And so X, I think Era X struggle on this map because they have a hard time scoring the open net. Era isn't great at scoring the open net. X isn't great at scoring the open net. Something like Estelle and Imi are a lot better at scoring the open net on this map, and I like them on this map for that reason. And if you're going Now, she's like okay, especially with Monu. She's great at scoring the open net, but otherwise she's just like only okay at it.
Okay.
And that's why I like the Rasmus or the Kazan because they're both great at scoring in the open net. That's where they really shine. And it's why I advise it for you guys. I think that would be really good.
Would it be worth me trying to play an IME on this map instead then to kind of facilitate scoring on the open net then, or just
No, I think the Now is fine. Just
Okay.
because you have a lot of experience playing Era X and Now is much more similar than that. I think Amy plays so differently.
Yeah, she is my
That
most Amy is my most played character, but that was back when I was like climbing through bronze, silver, gold into like low
Yeah.
plat maybe, and I haven't really played her a whole lot since then.
Yeah. And so she's just also the way you play defense is a little different, and just the way you move around the map is different.
Yeah.
On Amy, there's a lot of like jumping over the middle on in midfield, which just isn't something you do on Era or Now. And so the Era and Now are going to feel more comfortable.
What about the Juno?
Specifically
Because
on this
the
map.
Juno is a character that I play a lot more as of late, and I actually have the few times I've played Juno on this map, I have kind of felt good with it.
Yeah, it can be really strong. Like strike into the wall and then primary after can really send the ball flying and take the
Yeah.
barrier.
Okay.
And if it's something you've played on this map and you're more comfortable with, that's fine. Also, like I said, you can like I think she's one of the biggest benefactors of just sitting in the net, and then she can just like jump forward and apply pressure that way, or use her ult and apply pressure that way without having to
Yeah.
actually walk over there.
Okay.
Speed is generally considered weaker on this map for a
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah, that's why I never play Kai
'Cause-
here.
Yeah, because the speed doesn't actually really keep up with the speed of the drums. Um, So yeah, Juno could be a good option. It's a little different than speed characters, but it's also got like nice scoring pressure. And if you pick up Hot Shot on this map, it's so good because the ball's just always going really fast all the time. Because you hot shot it, and then it hits a drum, and then it hits another drum, and then it just it really speeds up. So yeah, have a little discussion about the maps, maybe what you want to practice before Saturday, what kind of characters and drafts you want to come up with based on the map. And try and play these two maps if you can. Maybe have a discussion about CTC and how you want to play that map if you do end up on it. And then the big things are just really look to pass between each other in the midfield a lot. You know, Cold Ramen I think can play more aggressively on offense.
Yep.
And passing on defense is the number one way to rotate from defense to offense effectively, so that you're not dealing with triple goalie by the time you're over in the enemy side. And that's what I got for you guys.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much for your wisdom.
Thank you
I'll
so
be
much.
rooting for you on Saturday. Hope to see you guys make some upsets.
Very close.
We will do our best.
Yeah, I believe.